بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Today is Tuesday and inshallah we'll continue halaqah on the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Last week we covered the hijrah to Habasha and we mentioned how the Muslims who had migrated to Habasha had heard a rumor that Mecca has become Muslim and the people of Mecca have converted to Islam and it's safe for them to live in Mecca. So they made their way back to Mecca. And when they came back, they found out that that was a lie, that was a rumor. And they split into three groups. When they were at the outskirts of Mecca, one group secretly entered Mecca, the other group went back to Habasha, and the third group publicly, openly went into Mecca with some security and some safety measures that they took while entering Mecca. Now, as this happened, the people of Mecca realized that those that had gone to Habasha have come back. And they had realized that they came back because of a false rumor, that they thought that Mecca had become Muslim. And because of that, what would happen? What would be the consequence of that? If they came back thinking that Mecca had become Muslim and they find out that Mecca is not Muslim, what would be the natural reaction to that? Is to go back to Habasha. They came for a reason, they didn't find the reason, they go back to Habasha. Now the people of the Quraysh, the leaders of Mecca, are aware that there's going to be a second attempt for the people to move and to make a hijrah or to migrate to Habasha. As that was happening, Quraysh realized that and they increased their security. They increased people at the outskirts of Mecca, specifically the route that takes you towards Habasha, meaning towards the west. Africa is west to Mecca, and towards the western part of Mecca, they put extra security. They raised awareness, and they increased the pressure and torture on the Muslims in Mecca. They made their lives even more difficult in Mecca as a way to retaliate for their attempt to go to Habasha. When the Prophet ﷺ realized this, and he also realized that those who had been to Habasha, they had told the Prophet ﷺ, it was completely safe for us to live over there. We were comfortably living over there. We didn't have to come back. We only came back because we heard that Mecca had become Muslim. So the Prophet ﷺ made another call to the Muslims and said, whoever is able to move and whoever is able to go to Habasha and migrate to Habasha, let him go. We're going to gather people and have the second group that also migrates to Habasha. This will be the second hijrah to Habasha. So approximately 100 people signed up. Last time we had 15 people. This time we have 100 people. 82 men and 18 women. 82 men and 18 women. Now, it became more difficult this time for them to go to Habasha than it was for them to go last time. Firstly, because they are larger in number. They are easily noticeable. 15 people, they can secretly leave. But 100 people leaving, Mecca is a very small city. The population is very small, meaning they're not like 100, 200,000 people who live in Mecca. Just a few thousand people live, maybe not even a few thousand, maybe a few thousand live in Mecca, but not more than that. Meaning if someone leaves, people realize that this person left. If someone is missing in Mecca, they realize someone is missing in Mecca because everyone knows each other. So the Prophet ﷺ had 100 people ready to go to Mecca. But it was way difficult for them because Mecca, the people of Quraysh, they are larger in number. Quraysh has increased security. This time they're taking children with them. From the 100 people, there were some children who were also moving to Habasha. This time they are intending to completely settle down because what the news that they had received from the people who had come back, that it is very safe to live over there. And so they wanted to plan to live there a long term. Last time when they went, they were just, seeing what happens. Let's go to Habasha and let's see, how things work out. But this time they know what the result is there over there. They know there's comfort. They know there is a future for them over there. So they are packing even more luggage. So moving with more luggage is more difficult. With the increase of security and Quraysh being aware that they are trying to leave, all of that is happening. It is making it more difficult. And on top of that, majority of those who were leaving from the Muslims were the children of the leaders of Mecca. Meaning it became more personal for those leaders in Mecca that our children are now leaving and they have become Muslim and they might be leaving and going to Habasha. From them was Abu Sufyan radiallahu anhu, who was still a non-Muslim at that time. And his daughter Habiba radiallahu anha, who later on married the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she was one of them. Abu Sufyan is the most important leader in Mecca, if not from the top leaders of Mecca. His daughter is leaving. Then you have someone by the name of Suhail ibn Amr. He was someone who later on also became Muslim. 3 of his children are leaving Mecca and going to Habasha. He had a 4th child who he chained up in his house because he became a Muslim. That's how much enmity and hatred he had for the Prophet ﷺ and for Islam, that he chained up his own son in his house. 3 of his children were leaving for Habasha. So the leaders of Mecca, they took it personally, that this is not something only pertaining other people of Mecca, this is pertaining our children. Our children are leaving and joining this group that is leaving their own town, and so on and so forth. Now, one may ask that if the people of Mecca really hate the Muslims, let them leave. And it'll be good riddance. Let them leave Mecca. It'll be, we'll have less Muslims in our town. So normally, if you hate someone and you don't like what they're doing, you would be happy if they left your town. You'd be happy if they left your neighborhood. But this was beyond that. They did not just dislike what they did. They had this personal hatred towards them, that they wanted them to be diminished. They wanted them to be destroyed. They wanted them not to succeed anywhere else. If I don't like someone, for example, if I have a neighbor who plays music late at night, I would just want him to move. I don't care whether he plays music somewhere else or not. All I want him to is stay away from me. But if I have personal hatred towards someone, wherever they may go, I'll hate whatever they're doing. And I would not want them to be successful wherever they go. And this is what the people of Mecca had towards the people of the Muslims who were in Mecca. There was this personal enmity and hatred for them to be destroyed and for them to not succeed at all. So as the Muslims were trying to leave, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed the Muslims to safely leave and make it to Habasha. They had no issues. They were able to secretly leave. In the middle of the night, they left. No one caused any issues. No one was left back. No one was killed. No one was harmed, and so on and so forth. The news got to the people of Mecca, the leaders of Mecca, that 100 people have made it all the way to Habasha. They are extremely frustrated. They're extremely annoyed and infuriated that how did we let them go, and how did we let them slip through our hands and through our security and made it all the way to Africa and made it all the way to Habasha. Now they decided, what should we do? We need to get them back. We're not going to just stay back and be okay with this. We need to find a way to bring them back. The first option they thought was, we might be able to fight them. And that was obviously a stupid decision, or stupid suggestion, because firstly, Mecca is very few in number. Habasha is huge. The population over there is huge. The distance to cover to get to them in Habasha to fight them is almost impossible. It's going to weaken the army. They're not going to be able to get there healthy. So they said, we'll have another method. And that method was, let's send some people and let's try to convince the king of Habasha, who was An-Najashi, and his name was Ashama. Anyone who ruled over Habasha or Ethiopia or Abyssinia at that time, he was given the title An-Najashi. Similarly, whoever ruled over Egypt was called the Pharaoh or Fir'aun. Whoever was the ruler of Yemen used to be called Tubba, and so on and so forth. So there were titles for whoever ruled those regions. So they said, let's send a delegation. Let's send some people to try to convince them. And they chose 2 people. One of them was Amr ibn As radiallahu anhu. At that time, he was not a Muslim. And they chose Abdullah ibn Rabi'ah. And their main focus, or their main person, or their main spokesperson would be Amr ibn As radiallahu anhu, who was at that time not a Muslim yet. And they chose him for 3 reasons. Firstly, he is a genius. He was known not only in Mecca, all over Arabia, that this person is a genius. And later on, when he became a Muslim, the help he provided the Muslims was something amazing. The Muslims benefited immensely from his ingenuity, how intelligent he was, and how much of a genius he was. And he was a genius. That's the first reason. Secondly, his own brother had migrated. His brother was Hisham ibn al-As. This is personal for him. He has a personal reason to figure this out. Thirdly, he personally knows the king of Habasha, and Najashi, Ashama. He has a personal relationship with him. They're friends, they know each other. So, when you know someone, it's easier to convince them. So they chose Amr ibn al-As and they chose Abdullah ibn Rabi'a. And they sent both of them. Before they left, they gathered some gifts for the people of the people, or the councilmen, and for Najashi. And it was known that Najashi used to love the animal skins that came from the animals of Mecca. The people at that time, one of the things that they would sell a lot was animal skin. When an animal is slaughtered or an animal is killed, they would take off the skin, they would tan it, meaning they would clean it, they would dry it in the sun, and then they would sell that skin. People would use it for clothing, for having like something on the floor in their house, for storing stuff, and so on and so forth. So An-Najashi used to love this skin that used to come from Mecca, and he used to always enjoy this type of product. So they gathered a bunch of tanned skin, an animal skin for Najashi. And they gathered some other gifts for the councilmen, the people who used to surround An-Najashi. And then they took that to Al-Habasha, took that to Africa. When they got over there, Amr ibn al-As told the delegation that first we will meet the councilmen, the people who Najashi consults, the people who surround Najashi, the more important people in today's time. You could say the senators or the congressmen of Najashi. We will approach them first secretly before we approach Najashi. And they went to them, they gave them all these gifts, and they told them, look, we are going to meet Najashi tomorrow, and we are going to try to convince him to let go of these people who have come from our city and our town, to let them come back to our city and their hometown. And everyone was on board, everyone agreed, yes, tomorrow when you talk to Najashi, we will be on your side, we will try to promote this, we will try to convince Najashi. And they were happy with the gifts. Whenever you bribe someone, they're always going to be on your side. And the Arabs say, al-fulus tughayyiru an-nufus. That money will change your opinion very quickly. And we see that in today's, all the politicians and congressmen that we have in America. Everyone is motivated by what you put in their pocket. Well, whatever the lobbyist is putting in their pocket, that's the legislation they will pass in Congress. If it's the medical industry, they will pass all kinds of medication. If it's the gun and arms industry, where the military industry, they will put money in their pocket. They will pass all legislation when it comes to guns. So no one is really sincere for the sake of Allah, illa man rahim Allah. But majority go with money, and this is the same thing over here, that they try to bribe them. The next day, Amr ibn al-As comes and he meets Najashi. They have a very beautiful moment. They met after so long. They know each other. They recognize each other. There was this beautiful, passionate moment that they had. They hugged each other and they met each other. And Najashi was happy to receive the gifts that he received from Amr ibn al-As, all the skin. And Najashi also had prepared a feast for them. He had prepared the room for them to come in and to be welcomed properly. This is a delegation from Mecca. These are the leaders of Mecca. So he welcomed them appropriately. Then Amr ibn al-As gave a short speech, or he made a small request. And he said three things. And every one of these statements is so powerful and was so meticulously phrased and formed. Amr ibn al-As had a specific goal with every statement he made. The first statement he made, he said, "O king, a group of young, foolish people have come to your town. A group of young, foolish people have come to your town." He immediately attacked their character, meaning they're young, they're not wise enough, and they're foolish, meaning the decision that they have made wasn't a calculated decision, was something that they thought about randomly, and they made this stupid decision, meaning they don't have the wisdom to understand what is right and wrong, what is good for them. So even if they try to convince you about something, keep in mind that they're young and foolish. It's like he's telling them that they're children. Imagine if a child comes to you and tells you to do something, you're like, he's a child, I'm not going to listen to him. That's how he was trying to portray these people, because Najashi doesn't know these people who came from Mecca, the Muslims. He just knows that they came from Mecca and they're their guests, they're seeking protection and safety in Africa, in Habasha. That's all he knows. He doesn't know them on a personal level. So the first thing Amr ibn al-As did was attack their character and their credibility. And whatever they would say would hold no value. And this is something you will find in every enemy of Islam or many enemies of Islam, they will use the same tactic. When Fir'aun attacked Musa, he attacked his character first. He did not debate whether he was on the truth or not. He attacked his character. You have committed a mistake. You are someone I raised. You grew up in my house. I forgave you. I did this for you. He attacked his character. Same with over here. Same with what's going on with our Palestinian brothers. They demote them to a point where killing them makes no difference. These people are animals. These people are terrorists. These people are, they are criminals. So when a person kills them, it doesn't hurt you. When you say that someone has killed a criminal, when someone has attacked and destroyed a town full of criminals, it won't affect you because you have destroyed their humanity in them, right? And this is what's been going on with the Palestinians. You can kill 10,000 Palestinians, it would make no difference because the way they are portrayed by the media is these are animals, these are terrorists. It doesn't make any difference whether you kill one or you kill 10,000. And those children and women who are innocent were killed were just collateral damage. It happens in war. This is something happens in war. And this is something that Amr ibn al-As was using over here, trying to destroy their character. Then he said, they have left the religion of their own families, the religion of their fathers and forefathers, and when they came over here, they haven't even joined and converted to your religion. Meaning, neither do they have respect for their own families in staying with their own religion, neither do they want to convert to your religion and respect you. Meaning, they have no basis. They have come up with this weird religion. Neither it is our religion or your religion. Meaning, they're not your people, O Najashi. And the third was, he said, and we have been sent by their fathers and by the leaders of Mecca. Meaning, their fathers want them back. It's not someone random in Mecca who wants them back. Their own parents want them back. Are you going to say no to someone's child to come back? Are you going to say no to their fathers? And then the leaders of Mecca have been requesting this. Meaning, if you say no, you are risking your relationship with the leaders of Mecca. The leaders of Mecca have made a request. You reject that, you say no to them, you are being disrespectful to them, and you're risking your relationship with them. If someone comes up to you and says, if someone comes up to, let's say, Ahmad to buy a car, and he says, the Sheikh Abdullah, the Imam Abdullah has sent me to buy a car. He will find it difficult to I hope he finds it difficult to say no, because he will be like, I don't want to disrespect the Imam. I don't want him to go back to the Imam and say that Ahmad did not give me a good price on the car. Right? So when you use that kind of intercession or that kind of shafa'ah or that kind of person, leverage, then it can be very awkward for a person to say no. And this is what Amr ibn al-As said. He said, the leaders of Mecca have sent me. Meaning this is not something only I want, the leaders of Mecca want. You say no, you're going to disrespect them. And after he said that, the councilmen of Najashi, they immediately said, yes, O Najashi. We agree with them. These are not our people. We don't know who they are. They should be sent back to their hometowns. They should be sent back to their own families. We don't want to keep them over here. But Najashi what the Prophet ﷺ expected from him. When the Prophet ﷺ sent the first batch to Najashi, he said, there is a king in Habasha who is just, and no one is wrongly treated over there. No one is treated unjustly under his rule. And that manifested and showed when Najashi said, Wallahi, I cannot do that. These people are my guests, and they have chosen my protection. They have chosen to live under my rule. The least I can do is hear their side before I make any decision. It would be unfair for me to make a decision without hearing the other side of the story. So then he called upon the Muslims and he asked them to respond to that. And inshallah, next halaqah, inshallah, we'll cover the answer from Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, who was a leader of the Muslims in that hijrah, and his beautiful response and his very profound response that he had to the claims and allegations that Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anhu had made towards a Muslim before he became a Muslim. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us with beneficial knowledge, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us to implement what we learn, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reunite us in the gardens of Jannah with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his family members and his companions, just the way he gathered us in the beautiful masjid. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.